This is Matt Russell, and welcome to the Daily FX Forum.
So here are the 5 pairs that I will be discussing this evening: the Euro Pound, the Aussie Kiwi, the Pound Swiss, the Euro Swiss, as well as the Euro Aussie. So let's go ahead and pull up the charts. First chart is the Euro Pound. The short trade from either 88.10 or 88.23 continues. I'd keep that stop at 88.75, as the 88.40 area should be formidable resistance over the next several weeks or months. Again, I do expect prices to eventually exceed these lows down here, which is near that 86 figure. On the shorter term, we could see a sort of borderline potential for an inverted head and shoulder pattern. We can consider this to be the right shoulder over here, so it's a good sign that prices are actually coming back down and testing that line once again. But I would get a little bit more confident if prices are able to just take out, even by just a few pips, that 86.48 area. The next chart is the Aussie Kiwi, and I sort of erased all the lines on the chart here. I do expect prices to eventually roll over. It just looks like it's going to in my mind's eye. Of course, I can and will often be wrong. But anyway, we have to find favorable risk-reward entries, and I like this line right here at about the 28.16 area. You can argue it's a borderline, some kind of messy head and shoulder pattern. So with that being said, let's zoom in a little bit, and we would be basing the stop off this doji candle right here. The high of that candle is 28.40. That would be this area right here. So I might look for entries even right now, which would be short 27.90 with a stop at 128.60. So again, that would be short 127.90 with a stop at 128.60. The next chart is the Pound Swiss, and again, we're just trading the Euro Pound, and the Pound Swiss has been acting as the inverse, so I'm just going to stay on the sidelines. The next chart is the Euro Swiss, and again, the long trade, from either 46.50 or 46.60, both with a stop at 46.25 continues. Prices right now about 46.55, so if you did not enter on those two, on the past two reports, I would go and enter here at 46.55, again with a stop at 146.25. It is a little bit chancy here, but again, what I'm expecting is this. You can argue that this is an inverted head and shoulder pattern right here, or a double bottom, just taking out or ignoring these long wicks on this candle here. So again, and we're not risking that many pips, so I think it's a good risk-reward trade. The next chart is the Euro Aussie, and if you recall during yesterday's report, I mentioned that I might expect prices to bounce. We locked in the 600 pip gain from the second lot of the short trade initiated at 58.75, and prices did collapse right after that. And again, that's just part of trading, and you're never going to be able to capture all the pips. And if you think about it, with all the major pairs today, probably there was or all the currency pairs, maybe 1,000 pips in movement, and we missed every single one of those. So we kind of equate that to this situation here. We left some profits on the table, but again, that's just part of trading, and it's an emotion that you have to get over and deal with in order to be successful. Again, my name is Matt Russell. Thanks for listening, and please stay tuned for a preview of the Daily FX Forums. I want to take this opportunity to formally welcome you all to the Daily FX Forums. I want to go through the process of how I personally access the forums, and how maybe you at home, if you want to access the forums in the future, might do so. The first thing you would do is go to www.dailyfx.com, and that will bring up, obviously, dailyfx.com, and usually there on the upper right hand corner, I'll go ahead and click on where it says forum, and that will bring up the first page of the forums. And this view, I personally don't use this view, but this view actually shows you the most recent posts on all the threads within the different sections, and a little detail about those posts, so you can read through and see if there's something catches your interest. But personally, I go ahead and just click on forums and view them in the more traditional sense. Now, these are different threads within the forum. There's a section on education, such as Daily FX course instructor tips, which would be good for newer traders, and then for more advanced traders. And I just want to go ahead, personally, the way I use the forums is I would go through the individual threads, just looking for trade ideas, maybe looking at charts, looking at certain lines that maybe I didn't put up on my chart, but another trader might have put up on their chart. I I tend to, shy away from using direct trade recommendations from other forum members, but it helps me to sort of even out my analysis, make sure that I'm seeing things with the right mind in terms of I might be missing stuff that other traders can see, and that's my personal way of using the forum. Every trader is going to be a little bit different in how they use it. So if you want to ask questions, if you want to become an active participant of the members, you would have to go ahead and register. So that's what I'm going to go through now, is the registration process. So assuming you're brand new to the forums, or maybe you've been here a few times and you're not really sure how it works, so I just want to walk through again the registration process. This would be the front page where you would access, or the previous page. You'd have the same little box here on the left hand side. My username and password are already filled out here, but assuming you're a new member, you would click on where it says register, and that will bring up the registration page. If you give me one moment here while my browser loads. And actually first we're going to have some terms of service and DailyFX forum rules. I do suggest reading through the forum rules. Obviously, profanity and spam and things like that are not allowed, but it also gives you insight on how to use the forum and how different traders can use it in terms of their individual needs. So you would go down to the bottom there, you'd click on where it says I have read all the rules, and then you would go ahead to the register the formal registration page, and that will bring up here. And you can go ahead and select the username, and how about we'll use 4x, and that name is already in use, so maybe add a few more x's there. Again, it really, your individual username is up to you, and you go ahead and fill in your password, your email address. Now, the most difficult aspect of registration for the DailyFX forums will be figuring out these letters in the box here. Now, I'm a semi-intelligent person, but I have a very difficult time figuring out which letters and numbers to use. Now, there is a reason for this madness. It helps with security, but I would suggest just going ahead and keep on clicking that refresh image until something comes through that you can actually identify and see. Then you can go ahead and enter your birthday, but you can decide whether or not to display that to other forum members. And then also, if you were referred by somebody, you can enter that information there. The time zone, that should default to your computer, but you should double check and make sure. And then you can opt in, and I would suggest opting in for these emails in terms if the administrators want to go ahead and send you some notices about the forum, and then you would complete registration. Now what happens is they would send you an email to the email address that you put up here, and that email will include a link, and all you would have to do is go ahead and click on that link, and that link will bring you inside the forum, and you would now be a member of the DailyFX forums. Again, this is Matt Russell. Thanks for listening.